The stellar horizon shuddered as another power coupling failed. Emergency lights pulsed crimson across scaled faces. Illuminating fear and eyes evolved for the darkness of deep space. Stabilizers offline. Hull integrity at 37%. Science Officer Nalvek's voice cracked as his forearms danced across failing control surfaces. Captain Thrillax braced against the command chair, cobalt scales bristling as the ship lurched violently. Through the cracked view screen, lightning illuminated the approaching forest canopy of the primitive world below. Of all the planets in this sector, they had to crash on the one inhabited by a species known for their unpredictability. Status of the Zorathi pursuit vessels, he demanded, mandibles clicking with controlled panic. Unknown, Captain, Security Chief Mordra replied. Her crimson scales darkened with indigo blood from a head wound. Our sensors failed when we entered the atmosphere, but our distress beacon is still broadcasting on all emergency frequencies. Shut it down, Thrillax ordered. I can't, replied Mordra. The primary communication array is fused. It's broadcasting our location to anyone listening, including the Zorathi. The ship's AI interface, a pulsing sphere of blue light, materialized above the central console. Life support will fail in 76 standard hours. Quantum dampeners operating at minimal capacity. Our presence will be detectable to the indigenous population. Thrillax suppressed a shudder. The Confederation database classified Earth as a pre-contact civilization with concerning aggressive tendencies, but notable cognitive potential. Their technology was primitive, but advancing rapidly. More worryingly, humans were infamous for their response to the unknown, a volatile mixture of curiosity and fear that often resulted in violence. Can we repair the ship enough to reach the outpost on Proxima Centauri? First Officer Zelvac asked, hope fading from her voice before she even finished the question. The AI's light dimmed momentarily, its equivalent of a sorrowful shake of the head. Negative. Main engines are beyond self-repair capabilities. We require external resources. From humans. Medical Officer Ashera's voice carried the horror they all felt. The Confederation protocols explicitly forbid technological exchange with pre-contact species. A tremendous impact silenced all discussion as the stellar horizon smashed through the forest canopy. Ancient trees snapped like twigs against the advanced alloys of the hull. The crew members were thrown against restraints as the inertial dampeners flickered and failed completely. With a final, metal-wrenching shriek, the research vessel plowed into the soft earth of the forest floor. Steam hissed from ruptured cooling systems, mingling with the rain now pouring through breaches in the hull. In the sudden silence, the AI spoke again, its voice distorted by damaged speakers. All primary systems offline. Initiating emergency protocols. Activating repair diagnostics. Captain Thrillax unstrapped himself from the command chair, wincing at pain from what was surely a fractured limb. Damage assessment. Now. The quantum navigation system remains intact, Zelvac reported with visible relief. If the Zorathi captured that technology, it would shift the balance of power throughout the known galaxy. Thrillax moved to a still-functioning display panel showing their landing location. They had crashed just 2 kilometers from a small human settlement. Captain, the AI interrupted. I've detected an electromagnetic anomaly originating from the human settlement. Someone noticed our arrival. Across town, in a converted warehouse filled with mechanical projects in various states of completion, Sarah Chen sat bolt upright in bed as every light and electronic device in her workshop flickered and died. Through her window, a fiery trail cut across the storm-filled sky, disappearing into the forest beyond the town limits of Millfield. Her prosthetic leg, usually silent when not in use, emitted a soft, pulsing glow from its modified circuitry, responding to something she couldn't yet understand. Dawn broke over Millfield with the storm's aftermath, downed power lines, scattered debris, and rumors of a meteor strike in the forest. Sarah Chen loaded her modified jeep with salvage equipment and diagnostic tools, while the local news played on her workshop radio. Officials are attributing last night's power outage to lightning strikes, the newscaster announced. Meanwhile, amateur astronomers report an unusual meteor event. Sarah silenced the radio and strapped on her prosthetic leg, a military-grade prototype she'd liberated during her honorable discharge 3 years ago. The leg had been acting strangely since the midnight blackout, its embedded sensors pulsing with unfamiliar patterns. As an engineer who'd specialized in experimental technology before opening her repair shop, Sarah recognized an anomaly when she saw one. And whatever had crashed in the forest was definitely an anomaly. She navigated her Jeep off-road, following her modified electromagnetic detector. The device had never registered readings this intense before. Whatever lay ahead wasn't from any technology she recognized. The forest thinned, revealing a massive gouge carved through the earth and vegetation. Sarah killed the engine and stood at the ridge, her breath catching in her throat. Below, partially concealed by fallen trees and active camouflage technology, failing in sporadic flickers, lay an unmistakably artificial craft. A spaceship. Movement caught her eye. A slender figure with 4 upper limbs was working frantically at an exposed panel on the ship's hull, cobalt scales glistening with rain and what appeared to be indigo blood. The alien, there was no other word for it, was injured, movements becoming increasingly erratic as it attempted repairs on a technology that emitted pulses of blue light. Sarah's prosthetic leg vibrated in response to each pulse. Military training kicked in. Assess, analyze, adapt. The alien was clearly in distress, and from the ship's condition, this wasn't an invasion force. This was a crash. She made her decision and began her descent. Inside the ship, Captain Threllax watched the human approach on the one functioning external camera. The indigenous creature has spotted First Officer Zelvac, he announced grimly. Mordra prepared non-lethal defenses. Security Chief Mordra lifted her weapon with difficulty. The human appears to be alone, Captain, and bringing equipment. The crew watched in stunned silence as the human, female, according to ship scans, approached Zelvac without any signs of fear. Instead of fleeing or attacking, she set down her equipment and raised empty hands, palms forward. First Officer Zelvac stumbled back against the hull, mandibles clicking rapidly in the Galneran expression of shock. "It's communicating," Nalvek whispered from the science station, using a universal non-threatening gesture. Outside, Sarah carefully removed a device from her pocket, a military translator prototype she'd been tinkering with, designed to create rudimentary communication bridges with unrecognized languages. She'd never expected to use it for actual first contact. "I come in peace," she said, feeling simultaneously ridiculous and awestruck. "Your ship is damaged. I can help." The translator emitted several frequencies, searching for patterns. The alien responded with a series of clicks and harmonic vocalizations. After several exchanges, garbled words began forming. "Dangerous. You should fear. Why approach?" Sarah gestured to her tools. "I fix things. It's what I do." More translation attempts followed before the alien seemed to understand. "Others of your kind will come. Capture us. Dissect us." Sarah shook her head. "Not if I help you first. I have a place to hide your ship, a workshop with equipment. But I want something in return." The ship's hatch opened wider, revealing the injured captain and several other crew members. "What could we possibly offer that would be worth risking your safety?" The translator approximated from the captain's complex speech. Sarah smiled, her eyes gleaming with the excitement of an engineer presented with impossible technology. "Knowledge. Show me how your ship works. You want to put aliens in your warehouse." Marcus Yamamoto's voice echoed through Sarah's cavernous workshop. The structural engineering professor pushed his glasses higher on his nose, studying the hastily drawn schematics of the Galneran vessel. "Keep your voice down," Sarah hissed, glancing at the warehouse's massive doors. Outside, a borrowed tractor trailer waited to retrieve the cloaked ship under cover of darkness. And yes, Unless you have a better idea where to hide a damaged spacecraft from whatever government agency monitors this stuff. I have several better ideas, none of which involve committing multiple federal offenses, Marcus replied, but his fingers were already tracing the peculiar architecture of the alien craft with unmistakable fascination. Sarah had known Marcus would help despite his protests. His brilliant mind had designed award-winning structures until gambling debts forced him to retreat to teaching. He craved intellectual challenges like an addict craved a fix. "This construction shouldn't be possible," he muttered. "These support structures defy conventional physics, which is why I need you," Sarah said. "And them." She nodded toward the door where Priya Lakshmi and Hector Delgado entered. Priya, a quantum computing prodigy blacklisted from research institutions after an ethics controversy, carried a laptop bristling with custom modifications. Hector, the ex-military materials specialist who had helped design Sarah's prosthetic leg, brought a duffel bag that clinked with specialized tools. "I thought this was a mechanical emergency," Priya said, dark eyes widening as she spotted the alien schematics. "Sarah, what have you done?" "Made first contact," Sarah replied simply. "They need our help, and they're willing to share their knowledge in return." Hector immediately began examining the security implications. "How do we know they're friendly?" "They're scientists, not soldiers," Sarah explained. "And they're running from something much worse." The warehouse doors opened, and the tractor-trailer backed in slowly. As the doors closed again, the camouflage field surrounding the alien craft flickered and failed completely, revealing the damaged Galneran vessel in full. Priya gasped. Hector instinctively reached for a weapon he no longer carried. Marcus simply stared, mouth agape. Captain Thrillax emerged from the ship with First Officer Zelvac and Security Chief Mordra. The humans stood transfixed as the aliens approached. "These are the helpers." Mordra clicked skeptically, her translator approximating English. 4 primitives with rudimentary tools. Sarah saw her friends bristle at the word primitives. "These primitives are some of the best minds on our planet," she countered. "Marcus designs structures that survive earthquakes. Priya understands quantum mechanics better than anyone. Hector can identify and work with any material you show him. Thrillax studied each human carefully, and they are willing to risk their safety to assist us. Knowledge is worth the risk." Priya stepped forward, eyes locked on the ship's exposed navigation system. "Is that a quantum positioning matrix? I've theorized something similar, but never." "Classify technology," Mordra interrupted sharply. "Not anymore," Sarah countered. "Not if you want our help." A tense silence followed before Captain Thrillax raised all 4 hands in a gesture of concession. "Full transparency," he agreed, "but understand that some of this technology is dangerous in the wrong hands." "So does a kitchen knife," Hector said. "Depends on who's holding it." The standoff broke when ship medic Ishera emerged, struggling with medical equipment. "Captain, Engineer Vorkun's condition is worsening. I need assistance." Without hesitation, Hector and Sarah moved to help, their instinctive response seeming to surprise the aliens. "We'll need to establish workstations," Sarah said, taking command naturally. "Priya, start on the navigation and computer systems. Marcus, structural integrity. Hector, materials assessment after he helps with the injured. I'll coordinate and handle the propulsion repairs." As the humans dispersed to their tasks with unexpected efficiency, Thrillax turned to Zelvac. "Remarkable," he whispered. "No delegation chain, no formal protocols, yet each intuitively understands their optimal function." "Captain," Zelvac replied quietly, "their neural scans show something unprecedented. These humans aren't just helping us repair our technology. They're already thinking about how to improve it." Agent Diana Weber adjusted her meteorological research windbreaker as she examined the peculiar metal fragment. 3 days of calming the forest had yielded little until this morning, an alloy unlike anything in her extensive database. "Ma'am, we've triangulated the electromagnetic anomaly," her field technician reported. "Centered near the Chen Mechanical Workshop on the edge of town." Weber pocketed the fragment. "Get me everything on the owner." Across town, Sarah's warehouse hummed with activity. For 72 hours straight, humans and aliens had worked in shifts, communicating through a hybrid translation system Priya had enhanced using Galneran algorithms. "The hull breach is temporarily sealed," Marcus announced, wiping sweat from his brow. "But we need a more permanent solution for these microfractures." Hector examined the damaged section through specialized goggles. "The material's atomic structure is shifting. It's self-healing, but imperfectly." Aboard the ship, Priya sat cross-legged before the navigation console, her expression one of transcendent focus as her fingers danced across alien interfaces. Captain Thrillax watched with growing amazement as this human somehow intuited pathways through the quantum computing architecture that had taken Galneran engineers generations to develop. "Impossible," murmured Science Officer Nalvik. "She's accessing the tertiary navigation matrix without formal authentication protocols." "Because she's not following your rules," Sarah explained, entering with tools and her ever-present diagnostic tablet. "Priya doesn't know what's supposed to be impossible, so she tries everything." A proximity alarm suddenly blared from Sarah's security system. Everyone froze. "Government vehicle approaching," Hector reported, checking the perimeter cameras. "Black SUV, tinted windows. Definitely feds." "Implement cover protocol Alpha," Sarah ordered calmly, having prepared for this eventuality. The aliens retreated to their ship, activating what remained of their cloaking technology. Humans quickly concealed specialized tools and displays beneath mundane mechanical projects. When Agent Weber entered, she found what appeared to be a routine auto shop with a few side projects. "Sarah Chen." Weber flashed her credentials. "I'd like to ask about unusual electromagnetic readings originating from this location." Sarah wiped greasy hands on her coveralls. "My equipment runs hot sometimes. Lots of custom modifications." Weber's gaze swept the warehouse, lingering momentarily on a tarp-covered area where Thrillax and Mordra hid, barely breathing. "Mind explaining this?" Weber held up the metal fragment. Before Sarah could respond, her prosthetic leg emitted a barely audible high-frequency pulse. The alien's translators simultaneously received an urgent encrypted transmission that made Thrillax's scales bristle with dread. "The Zorathi have entered this solar system," he whispered to his crew. "Commander Krex's personal battlecruiser." Outside Earth's atmosphere, the Zorathi warship Void Talon decelerated from faster-than-light travel, its sleek predatory form slipping behind Mars to avoid primitive human detection systems. Commander Krex, his crimson-black exoskeleton gleaming under command center lights, studied tactical displays of the blue planet. Curious that Thrillax would seek refuge on such a primitive world, he mused to his second-in-command, "Especially carrying our stolen navigation prototype. The humans appear technologically insignificant," his officer replied. "Easily dominated." Krex's mandibles clicked in amusement. "All the better. Prepare the hunter scouts. I want Thrillax's ship secured and these humans studied before termination. Any species that aids our enemies deserves thorough examination before extinction." Back in the warehouse, Weber continued her questioning while Sarah maintained her cover story. Neither woman noticed the small device beneath Sarah's workbench, a Galneran sensor that now flashed an urgent warning only the aliens could see. The message was clear. Predators had entered Earth's domain, and the hunt had begun. Priya hadn't slept in 36 hours. Her mind buzzed with equations that hadn't existed in human mathematics until she began working with the Galneran navigation system. When she finally collapsed into exhausted slumber on a cot beside the ship, her dreams were filled with impossible geometries, 5-dimensional pathways folding through subspace. She awoke with a gasp, her mind ablaze with insight. "I need to see the captain," she demanded, rushing into the ship with such urgency that Security Chief Mordra nearly stunned her before recognizing the human. Captain Thrillax was in the command center, reviewing sensor data on the approaching Zorathi vessel. "I understand how your navigation system works," Priya announced without preamble. "And why it's failing. The alien captain's forearms stilled their movement. Impossible. Our best engineers spent generations perfecting the quantum positioning matrix. That's exactly the problem, Priya explained, pulling up the system's core programming. Your civilization has been refining the same fundamental approach for so long that you've optimized yourselves into a corner. She began reconfiguring displays, her fingers moving with fevered precision. Human brains process spatial relationships differently. We don't naturally think in quantum superpositions. We imagine places we've never been. We create mental maps based on intuitive leaps. Science Officer Nalvek leaned forward, mandibles clicking in agitation. The navigation system doesn't operate on intuitive leaps. It requires precise. That's why it's vulnerable to disruption, Priya interrupted. Perfect precision means perfect predictability. The Zorathi didn't need to destroy your system. They just introduced a cascading quantum uncertainty principle into your calculations. Outside the ship, Sarah was testing modifications to the propulsion system with Engineer Vorkun. The alien watched anxiously as Sarah mixed a fuel combination that contradicted Galneran engineering principles. This will destabilize the reaction chamber, Vorkun warned. Sarah smiled. Trust me. She injected the mixture into the test engine. Rather than the expected catastrophic failure, the energy output gauge surged to 3 times the standard level, then stabilized. Vorkun's compound eyes widened. How is this possible? We've optimized our fuel formulations for millennia. That's your problem, Sarah explained, adjusting her prosthetic leg, which had begun resonating with the engine's frequency. You've been optimizing based on known parameters. Humans specialize in trying things that shouldn't work. Meanwhile, Hector and Marcus had developed a new hull material using earth metals that, according to all Galneran science, should have disintegrated under space conditions. The molecular bonding is completely illogical, Medical Officer Ishara observed as she scanned the material. Yet it's stronger than our standard hull plating. Captain Threllax gathered the humans and his crew in the ship's conference room. His expression was solemn. I must confess something, he announced. The Galneran Confederation has reached an evolutionary plateau. For 3 centuries, we've made no true innovations, merely refined existing technologies. Our civilization is in decline, though few will admit it. He gestured to the improvements the humans had made. In 5 days, you've done what our engineers couldn't in decades. Your species' neural architecture allows you to make intuitive leaps our logical minds cannot follow. He turned to Priya. You said you can reconfigure our navigation system to be immune to Zorathi interference. She nodded. By introducing controlled chaos, randomizing elements that make predictive attacks impossible. And this new hull material and propulsion system, he asked Hector and Sarah. Better than your originals, Sarah confirmed. But I need to test one more thing. She connected her prosthetic directly to the ship's systems. As interfaces merged, Sarah gasped. Her mind suddenly flooded with ship data, creating the neural connection the Galnerans had believed technologically impossible. The human's bioelectric field is synchronizing with our systems, Nalvek exclaimed. She's becoming a living component of the ship. Through the unexpected connection, Sarah glimpsed the approaching Zorathi vessel and the hunter scouts already entering Earth's atmosphere. Millfield's summer festival transformed the town square into a kaleidoscope of lights, music, and laughter. Families gathered under string lights, children clutched cotton candy, and couples danced to a local band's enthusiastic cover of classic rock songs. None of them noticed the 3 figures who slipped through the crowd with predatory grace. The Zorathi scouts had adapted their exoskeletons to approximate human appearance, but their movements retained an unsettling insectoid precision. Energy signatures consistent with Galneran technology detected in multiple locations. The lead scout subvocalized through their internal comms. Strongest readings from the industrial sector at the town's edge. Across the festival, Marcus Yamamoto froze mid-bite of a corn dog. Sarah's urgent text message glowed on his phone. Hunters here. Festival not safe. Warn others. Don't be obvious. Before he could move, a hand clamped down on his shoulder. Agent Weber. Professor Yamamoto. What a coincidence, she said, voice pleasant but eyes sharp. I've been trying to understand why a structural engineering expert has been purchasing exotic metals and electromagnetic shielding materials. Marcus forced a smile. Personal research project. Very boring stuff. Weber's reply died in her throat as her handheld scanner suddenly emitted a shrill alert. Her eyes widened as she read the display. What the hell? She whispered, then grabbed Marcus's arm. We need to move. Now. What is it? He asked, genuinely confused. 3 individuals giving off radiation signatures unlike anything in our database, she hissed, subtly drawing her concealed weapon. And they're heading straight for us. Across the festival, Hector Delgado's military-honed instincts had already identified the infiltrators. Their disguises might fool civilians, but to his trained eye, their movements screamed predator. As one Zorathi passed beneath a string of lights, Hector caught a glimpse of chitinous texture beneath the artificial skin. He casually made his way toward Priya, who was obliviously enjoying the festival's dessert competition. Don't react, he murmured, taking her elbow gently. We've got company. 3 bogies, using some kind of cloaking tech, 1 heading this way. Priya's expression didn't change as she continued sampling a slice of pie. What's the play? Divide and neutralize, Hector replied. Remember what Thrillax said about their sensory limitations. They're tracking energy signatures. Your tablet and my modified watch are like beacons. Understanding dawned in Priya's eyes. We split up, draw them away from the crowd. I'll take the one near the Ferris wheel, Hector confirmed. You head toward the park. Lead yours away from people. As they separated, the Zorathi scouts adjusted their pursuit patterns, just as Hector had predicted. The scout following Priya tracked her through the darkened park, mandibles clicking beneath his disguise in anticipation. The human female carried energy signatures matching Galniran technology. Commander Krex would reward him well for capturing the human who had directly contacted the Galnirans. So focused was the hunter on his prey that he didn't notice Priya had stopped running and turned to face him. You're not very good at this, she called out calmly. The Zorathi dropped his human disguise, revealing his true form in the moonlight, over 2 meters tall, with a crimson-black exoskeleton and gleaming compound eyes. Your species' overconfidence is remarkable, he hissed, voice translator rendering his clicks into rough English. Did you truly believe you could escape? Priya smiled and held up her tablet. No. I believed you would follow the energy signature and not notice I was leading you into a trap. The Zorathi took a step forward and crashed through the thin crust of earth covering the abandoned well that Marcus had identified on town planning maps. As the alien tumbled down, Priya activated a signal jammer she constructed using Galniran principles combined with human improvisation. Across town, Hector and Agent Weber were simultaneously discovering that humans and Zorathi had one thing in common. Neither species had anticipated just how adaptable their opponents could be when fighting for survival. Commander Krex's rage flared hot enough to melt chrome as the scout team's signals went dark one by one. Impossible, he snarled, mandibles snapping violently. Primitive humans cannot defeat Zorathi Elite. He turned to his tactical officer. Prepare ground assault units. I want that Galniran ship and their human collaborators. Level their structures if necessary. In Sarah's warehouse, emergency preparations had reached fever pitch. The partial repairs to the Stellar Horizon had rendered it capable of limited flight, but not space travel. Captain Thrillax stood with Sarah and Agent Weber over hastily assembled defense plans. You expect me to believe all this? Weber demanded, still processing the reality of 2 alien species, one friendly, one hostile, on American soil. Agent Weber, Sarah replied, adjusting her prosthetic leg which now pulsed with integrated Galniran technology. You've seen the evidence. The Zorathi will kill everyone in Millfield to get what they want. Weber holstered her weapon. I need to call this in." "There's no time," Thrillax interjected. "Zorathy dropships will breach your atmosphere within minutes." A decision crystallized in Weber's eyes. "Then we defend American citizens, with or without authorization." Across town, Hector had organized an unlikely militia. Mechanics, farmers, and festival security staff, armed with modified equipment and simple instructions. "These devices will disrupt their cloaking technology," he explained, distributing makeshift sensors built from scavenged parts. "Stay in groups. Use the environment. Remember, they rely on advanced tech. We don't." Marcus had converted the town's central gazebo into a tactical operations center. Using architectural principles and Praya's hacked access to satellite feeds, he tracked thermal signatures of incoming Zorathy craft. "First wave approaching from the north," he announced through repurposed walkie-talkies. 3 craft, approximately 20 hostiles. The night sky blazed with crimson light as Zorathy dropships screamed through the atmosphere. Their sleek, predatory forms hovered over Millfield's outskirts, weapons systems charging. Inside the lead dropship, the Zorathy assault commander received unexpected readings. "Commander, the town's power grid is exhibiting unusual patterns." Before Krex could respond, something unprecedented happened. The *Stellar Horizon*, despite its damaged state, rose from its hiding place on a column of blue-white energy, the product of Sarah's enhanced propulsion system. The ship's weapons, though limited, targeted the lead Zorathy dropship with precision. Simultaneously, the town's power grid surged in a pattern that matched the frequency of Sarah's neural connection to the Galnaran ship. The streetlights, electrical infrastructure, and cellular towers throughout Millfield pulsed in perfect synchronization, creating a town-wide electromagnetic field that disrupted Zorathy targeting systems. "They've weaponized their primitive infrastructure," the Zorathy tactical officer reported in disbelief. On the ground, the first wave of Zorathy troops found themselves confronted not by panicked civilians, but by organized resistance. Farmers in pickup trucks deployed Hector's homemade traps. Construction workers used heavy equipment to create barricades. College students from the local university used chemistry knowledge to create smoke screens that blinded Zorathy optical systems. At the warehouse, Sarah's neural connection to both the Galnaran ship and the town's power grid was taking a physical toll. Blood trickled from her nose as she coordinated the defense. "Sarah, you need to disconnect," Captain Thrillax urged. "The neural load is too great for your physiology." "Not yet," she grimaced, her mind simultaneously processing alien ship systems and Earth technology. "Praya's ready." Across town, in the water treatment facility, Praya initiated the sequence they'd prepared, routing the experimental hybrid drive's energy through the town's underground water and power lines. The resulting electromagnetic pulse expanded outward, passing harmlessly through human technology, while rendering Zorathy systems inert. As disabled Zorathy warriors found themselves suddenly vulnerable, they made a devastating discovery. Humans armed with simple mechanical weapons didn't need advanced technology to be dangerous. Dawn broke over Millfield, illuminating the aftermath of the night's battle. Zorathy dropships lay scattered across fields and streets, disabled by technology that shouldn't have worked against them. Commander Krex's warship had retreated beyond the moon, its sensors still struggling to understand what had happened. In Sarah's warehouse, the *Stellar Horizon* hummed with new energy, no longer damaged, but transformed. The hybrid systems created through human ingenuity and Galnaran technology had resulted in something neither civilization could have built alone. Captain Thrillax stood before the assembled humans: Sarah, Praya, Marcus, Hector, and Agent Weber, his posture conveying deep respect. "The Confederation has existed for 12,000 years, he began, mandibles moving softly. "In all our records, we have never encountered a species capable of what you accomplished in 7 days." Sarah leaned heavily on a makeshift crutch, her prosthetic leg temporarily removed for repairs after the neural interface strain. "We just did what humans always do: adapt and survive." It's more than that, Threllax countered. Your modifications to our technology have created possibilities we never imagined. The ship's computational abilities have increased by 300%. The hull integrity exceeds our highest theoretical limits. Nalvek stepped forward, holding a data crystal. We've analyzed the neural connection Sarah established. It should have been impossible. Our species spent centuries trying to create such an interface. What happens now? Agent Weber asked, her government credentials hanging forgotten around her neck after the night's events had shattered her worldview. We must return to the Confederation, Threllax replied. The Zorathi will regroup, and Earth remains vulnerable until your civilization advances further. He hesitated, then continued. We offer passage to any of you who wish to accompany us. Your insights would be invaluable. A heavy silence fell as the humans exchanged glances, each weighing a decision that would alter not just their lives, but potentially the course of human history. Priya was the first to step forward. I'll go. The mathematics I've glimpsed. There are equations I need to understand. Hector shook his head. Someone needs to stay and prepare Earth's defenses. The Zorathi know we're here now. Marcus smiled wryly. I got students who need me. And someone has to document what we've learned without causing panic. All eyes turned to Sarah, who stared thoughtfully at her disconnected prosthetic. I can't go, she said finally. Not yet. She looked up at Threllax. But I don't need to. During our neural connection, I downloaded more than you realize. She tapped her temple. I have the foundations of your technology here, enough to begin developing Earth's first faster-than-light drive. When we're ready, we'll find you. Captain Threllax performed the formal Galneran salute, all four arms crossing in a gesture reserved for equals. In the history of the Confederation, we have a designation for species who change the course of galactic development. Nexus species. Today, we recognize humanity as such. Hours later, as the Asterisk Stellar Horizon Asterisk prepared for departure, Threllax presented Agent Weber with a small communication device. For emergencies only, he explained. The Confederation will be watching over Earth more carefully now. The ship rose silently into the clouds, its new hybrid drive leaving a distinctive blue-gold trail unlike any Galneran vessel before it. 5 years later, a new Galneran research ship entered Earth's solar system, Priya Lakshmi aboard as the Confederation's first human xenomathematician. As they approached Earth orbit, she smiled at the small fleet of prototype vessels rising to meet them, ships built with the hybrid technology she had helped create. At their head flew a vessel captained by Sarah Chen, her neural interface now perfected, ready to guide humanity's first official steps into the galactic community that had once thought them primitive, but now awaited their arrival with unprecedented anticipation.